So I'm going to go over the arm positions, do a quick little walking warm-up with them, going through mini Olympic skills, since that's what we're going to be gearing towards here in like the next month or so. And then after that, I'm going to go through the mini Olympic routines just to give you all a refresher. So when you get up on the beam, have them spread out, and then you're going to go over forearm positions: crown, IV, T, and rounded arms. So we all know what crown is: arms width ears, arms up, IV, T, and then round. Remember, you want them to be tall. If they're like this, with their arms down, bent, and stuff like that in crown, it's going to make it hard for them to walk with any kind of stability. IV is really for finishing cartwheels and handstands on the beam. Then your T arms are pretty much just for walking and stuff like that. Your rounded arms are when you start to do turning and stuff. Turning I would probably do on the floor until they're comfortable enough to get up on a higher beam. So I'm going to go into a quick little warm-up. It should only take about 2 to 5 minutes tops. So when we do warm-up, you want them to all come on the same and the same. At least that's how I would like for them to be. I make my own kids do. Beginner girls, I would have them be on complete flat feet. They're not comfortable just yet being on releve, but when you get into the intermediate girls, then that's when I would probably try to transition into releve. So you have them just walk all the way down, and then they'll go step, walk, turn, and then have them walk sideways. So we all know what all of this is, of course. And then walk, turn, and then walk backwards. When I have my kids walk backwards, I have them point and then step. Point and step. Because when we're walking backwards, you don't want to be looking back. Our toes are our eyes. So that way we don't have to sit here and have any kind of doubt at the end of the beam is there. So when I get here, there it is. I can stop. After that, kicks. It doesn't have to be very high kicks. But what I tell my kids is, I don't care how high you kick, as long as your toes are pointed and your legs are straight, arms in T, and just lift and kick all the way down. Doesn't matter. That walk, turn. And then just for this level, kick back. You want to make sure that their hips are staying square all the way through. Making sure that their legs are straight and their toes are pointed, and then up turn. Then their passe. Because now with how USAG is, transferring from coupe to passe, that's all that's being taught at this point in time. So passe, on 1, 2, 1, 2, making sure the hips are straight and one hip is not higher than the other, and the hands are on the hips. And then step, turn. So you see, it doesn't take very long to get through the entire warm-up. So I'm going to go into the beam stations. Typically we have classes around maybe 8 kids tops, but I did set up for 5 stations just in case if you do get that one class that does end up being a little bit more on the full side. So you always want to make sure that one of the beams has mats underneath it, because when they're up on these beams and you're not helping them, they need to be able to feel safe when they're on top of the beam by themselves and confident in what they're doing. So I numbered each beam, so this is beam 1, beam 2, beam 3, beam 4, and beam 5. For me, I find that numbering them is easy, so that way you're not having to tell your kids, hey, you go to that beam, that's beam 3, that's beam 4. It doesn't matter. They know because you've marked them, and then they know, all right, so when you call rotate, they know beam 3 goes to beam 4, beam 4 goes to beam 5, beam 5 goes to beam 1, and then beam 1 goes to beam 2. It's easy, they can get there quickly, and then you don't have to think about, which way do I want to rotate? So for me, beam 1, I would have them start with the mount. So their mount strictly is just straight arms and swing over. This is just for the beginner girls now. I'm just going to go over beginner and then I'll go over intermediate. That's all I want them to do for the time being. The reason why just working on the mount and the swing is because you'll get those kids that bend their arms and then they try to swing their legs give them a little bit of height. But for them, they need to have straight arms, leaning their shoulders over their hands, and pressing their way into the beams. That way when they lift up, it's easy for them to swing over. Everybody understand that? It's not too hard. Then I would come over here, and this may be my spotting station. So I would have them go tee in and lunge with this. This beam, they're completely safe doing them out by themselves. So you should be able to have, eyes over here in your peripheral vision, and then being able to help here. So when I have kids, first learning them, I tell them arms up by their ears, having a block in their hands, and then they just go tee, and then lunge. Making sure that when they're coming up, the arms are by the ears. A lot of kids, y'all probably seen this before, they do this, and then they lift their foot. It doesn't teach them a correct way of going in and out of handstands, cartwheels, anything that you teach them on beam. You want to make sure that the hands grab the block, arms by the ears tight, and then lift. Just do tee, and then lunge. That you can help them there by holding the knee, and I typically will grab either the arms or right on under the belly. That way I have complete control going up and down. Right here, this I would make step walk turn to a straight jump, since we are still in the gear of going to mini Olympic style right now. So step block, turn, and you're going to have your kicks drop, and then straight jump. Seems pretty simple, but for some kids, it may not be for them. So for them to be here on the floor will be easier. It gives them confidence, everything else. Right here, I put a panel mat behind the beam because not every kid is going to be this tiny. Not every kid is going to be able to stay in that same spot. So we put a panel mat behind them. They're able to stretch into it a little bit longer. So the reason why I have the white Velcro on the beam is to give them kind of a visual of where to put their hands and their feet. So for me, I would put my foot here, and then I would reach my hands, one hand. So that way they're shoulder width apart. You can either do it on the other side as well, depending upon if they're lefty or righty. And as you can tell, you can run an entire beam circuit right here in this one small area. And you can run it efficiently. I do it with anybody from level 2 all the way up to sometimes my level 4s. My optionals, I really don't work them this way because that's not what I'm gearing them for. And then right here, I would have them do passe holds, and then I would have them go arabesque hold. Making sure that the bottom leg is straight in the passe, and then making sure the bottom leg stays straight in the arabesque, the hips are square. It may be something a little bit more on the experience side for them that they've already done it before, but this one they can do it by themselves because they're close to the ground. The closer to the ground they are, the more confident they're going to feel. Even if it's going around the side and not going completely up to handstand. That's okay. They'll get it on their own when their confidence builds. And you helping them sometimes with it will help.
So Quentin, why don't you go up there and let her demonstrate with you?
I have a question really quick. On each of these beams, it doesn't matter what leg. It depends, right? It doesn't matter what leg it's on.
It's very, very child dependent.
Okay.
For me, I'm showing everything on left because for me, I was a lefty as a gymnast. So for me, left is always going to feel right for me. But righties, you can absolutely switch it. So let's say for this one, for instance, you can go here and switch it easily. So this one, Quentin. So this one, if you do end up spotting this one, are you ready, lefty?
Right.
Okay. So this side. And for me, for right now, I would probably switch it around so that way I can have my eyes on the beams. Because remember, we never. You can scoot back a little bit more. Scoot back a little bit more. Yeah, that's fine. You remember, you always want your eyes on the kids, no matter what. Because if your eyes are on them, then you can see, if one of them gets injured, you know exactly how to explain it to a parent. Safety is always going to be the #1 thing here at our house. And for me personally, it's always the #1 for me. So When we do the cartwheel handstand, you're gonna have their foot back here. You're gonna want them to reach, pulling tall in their shoulders. You want all this pressure pulling up into their ears by reaching out. So I tell my kids all the time, reach out, and cartwheel handstand, and I always have the trunk of their body. I never sit here and grab them by their legs. I never sit here and grab them by their arms. I always have control of their body by the trunk of their body. Because you have control of the trunk of their body, let's say Quentin will go up and he'll arch. So arch over. I can even push him this way. And I have complete control. He's not going to fall on top of me. And let's say that he goes around the side. So reach, arms by ears. That's one thing that you'll see the kids do. They're going to want to drop their arms early. So when they drop their arms early, their head's going to stick out, and they're going to go around the side. So we're going to try to tell them as much as we possibly can to stretch, keeping the arms by the ears, picking up, and they're safe. So no matter what, if you're doing this one with them, make sure you have all their weight and your hands are around the trunk of their body. That way they stay safe. All right. Thanks, Quentin.
Stephanie?
Oh, the girls are going to jump up, front support. Now, swing their leg over. And then swing their toes behind them to a tuck stand. And then arms up in crown. And then stand up on releve. And then you're going to drop to an arabesque. So hold 1, 2, arms in T. And go step kick to the front 2 times. Kick, kick, close. And then go step kick to a T. Arms in crown. Arms in crown. This is girls gymnastics. So T. So here, just like what I told you earlier, I always have their knee and the trunk of their body and lunge. And we're going to go step, block, turn. With their back foot, turn. And then go straight jump. And then go cartwheel handstand from a kneel. So you're going to step out, kneel, and then go cartwheel handstand. Good job, Quentin.